It was going to be a time of mending a family broken by standing united for Garrison Brown's funeral. For a fleeting moment, it seemed like perhaps, just perhaps, the wounds would heal. But that was quickly dispelled because what ensued in the latest Sister Wives tell-all wasn't reconciliation. It was anger deflection and one man's on-camera meltdown on national TV. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Your home for real commentary, emotional reality, and all the things they don't present you with in the teasers. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and press the bell so you never miss an update. And please, after hearing this, let me know your thoughts in the comments, because what we're seeing right now isn't solely reality TV drama, it's something far deeper. The tell-all episodes always have that tension, but this one, it crossed a line. The spotlight shifted to Sukana, Krishnan, our host, our reporter, the calm in the storm. And Kody Brown didn't just dodge her questions. He verbally attacked her aggressively on camera. He screamed, he dismissed, he brushed off basic accountability with a tantrum that would have gotten anyone else hauled off set. But not Kody, because TLC allowed it to happen again. This is more than a shattered marriage or a spiteful ex. This is about how a man who once professed to be the glue of a plural family is now descending angry, loud, and totally unrestrained. It's about how favoritism brought the family he claimed to love crashing down. It's about how one woman, Robyn, became the face of that favoritism, and how the other women were discarded when they refused to play along. But most of all, it's about how TLC is still allowing him to scream unchallenged at the very people he once said he loved, and now even at the people just going about their business. This isn't just a matter of family dysfunction, it's emotional power weaponized, and the repercussions are unfolding right before our eyes. For years, Kody Brown marketed a very particular image to the world. He was the devoted plural husband, managing 4 wives and almost 20 children, with what he wanted us to believe was patience, fairness, and spiritual purpose. He referred to it as his calling, and we were meant to view him as the powerful central presence of this large, complex, loving family. At first blush, it seemed like something miraculous. A man dedicated to living his religious beliefs through plural marriage. But if you peel away the confessional sound bites and the puffery edits, the reality beneath was much messier, and viewers began paying attention. Earlier on the older seasons of Sister Wives, Kody went out of his way to say he treated all his wives the same. He rotated nights, made decisions together, and was always discussing the family as a group. But beneath those well-rehearsed words were fissures, little things. Robyn gaining more of his time, Christine's feelings being dismissed, Janelle often left to parent on her own, Meri becoming more and more isolated. The warning signs were always present, but they were subtle, easier to overlook when the cast still played along and no one dared shatter the fourth wall. Then came Christine. Christine didn't just leave Kody. She outed him, and not in some dramatic scorched earth manner. She did it quietly, but honestly. She shared her tale, and in doing so, she blew up the entire platform he built his brand on. Once she left, the whole equal love for all wives myth could no longer sustain, because suddenly Kody was no longer running the narrative anymore. And that's when everything began to unravel. You could actually see it happening on screen. His panic, his desperation to shape the narrative once again. He transitioned from "I love them all equally" to "I just have a different connection with Robyn." He started attempting to characterize himself as the victim of disobedient, ungrateful wives. He began reworking history, claiming Christine had been challenging all along, that he had made a good effort, that the breakdown wasn't his fault. But here is the catch. None of these truths would have emerged if the women hadn't eventually stopped covering for him. Christine broke the code and Janelle played along loyal to a fault, finally realized it too. The instant they dropped the act along the mask, slipped. Kody did not confess due to guilt or change. He admitted what he had to because he no longer controlled the story. The women reclaimed their tales, and once they did, there was no putting the illusion together. The ideal plural husband was never real, but a role that concluded when the cast no longer was adhering to the script. Ever since Robyn came into the picture, something was off. Fans knew it. The other wives certainly knew it. And although Kody attempted for years to act like everything was equal, the favoritism was never being subtle. It was simply being denied. Now he isn't even attempting to keep it a secret. He's openly declaring Robyn as the one he loves, and instead of regret or regretting, he's rationalizing it as divine. Let's be real here. We've all seen it unfold. Robyn has always received more of Kody's time, more of his attention, more of his defense. Remember when the family was dealing with CO protocols? The man essentially moved into Robyn's home full time, saying it was for safety. But none of the other wives were treated with the same amount of protection. Christine and Janelle were instructed to obey his stern rules if they wished to spend time with him, while Robyn didn't have to change a thing. Kody warped everything to her reality. The screen time alone tells it all. In scenes with Christine or Janelle, Kody was often cold, dismissive, even hostile. Conversations were laced with tension and excuses. With Robyn, however, we saw a whole other person. He was tender, involved, even romantic. She received the soft tone. She received the apologies. She received the man who desired to make it work. And now, rather than concealing that favoritism, Kody is referring to it as holy. He explained on national television that his relationship with Robyn is divine, not special, not different, divine, chosen by God. Which begs a brutal question. What does that make his other marriages? Because for years, all four wives were told that this was their spiritual journey, that their union with Kody was sacred, that they were called to this way of life. In the religion they practiced, plural marriage wasn't just a choice, it was doctrine. The premise that each marriage was part of some higher design was the basis of the entire family structure. And now Kody's out here, saying essentially only one of them mattered. That's not insulting, it's cruel. It recontextualizes Meri, Christine, and Janelle as stepping stones, placeholders, women who gave their lives, their youth, and their emotional labor to a man who now argues they were never the one Christine raised. His children held had been blessing that family for years, and now she's being informed by suggestion, if not outright, that it was never intended to be, that she was never God's chosen. Kody's story about Robyn doesn't simply hurt, it erases. It invalidates the decades the other women spent establishing a life they believed was blessed. And it requests the remainder of us to believe this rewrite as fact, when what we're being presented with is a man frantically justifying betrayal by labeling it destiny. The tell-all was meant to be regarding closure, regarding unpacking what went on during the season, looking at where the family is, and perhaps, just perhaps, bringing a little emotional closure following what was quite clearly the worst chapter in Sister Wives history. Instead, it became something else entirely. It became a spectacle one in which Kody Brown didn't just break down, he went up in flames. And, alas, the person in his way was the quietly reasonable host of the show, Sukana Krishnan. It began quietly enough. Suki, as she is affectionately known to her fans, did precisely what she was employed to do. She posed a measured question. Nothing provocative, no accusations. Just a simple question about Kody's assertion that his relation with Robyn is divine, and if that is inconsistent with his previous vows of equal love. It's a reasonable question, particularly when the whole show has been framed around the alleged reasonableness of plural marriage. But Kody did not respond. He reacted. In a matter of seconds, his whole demeanor changed. His tone rose not in volume only, but in heat. Hot, defensive, angry. His body language, pure aggression. He leaned forward, chest puffed voice, raised hands, flying. What was supposed to be a discussion turned into a fight, one that Suki did not request and did not deserve. It was the same vibrancy viewers have heard about already. Christine's family members have spoken for years that Kody would scream, posture, and threaten when he didn't have his way, that if he was cornered or challenged, he would go on the offensive. Seeing him blow up at Suki affirmed that behavior. He wasn't arguing. He was striking out, and not with facts or analysis, just crude, unstable emotion. What made it worse was how composed Suki was. You could see it on her face. She was unattractive. There were times she looked off camera, likely in the direction producers, a silent stare that said, "Are you going to step in?" But nobody did. She sat there enduring it, clutching her composure, even as the man opposite her grew louder, spoke over her, and made her job one she was professionally employed to do nigh on impossible. Now let's be real for a moment. Imagine this was a newsroom. Imagine this wasn't a reality show set, but a big network studio. Can you envision a male guest yelling at a female journalist on NBC or CBS, yelling over her, faulting her for asking a question he contracted to answer by agreement that would never pass? Muster human resources would be called. It would mean consequences. And yet here on Sister Wives, somehow it's okay. And that's the issue here. This is not so much about Kody being aggressive. This is about workplace hostility. Suki is a professional hired by TLC to moderate a reunion special. Her role is to lead a conversation, not to swallow emotional abuse. And yet nobody stepped in when she was being yelled at on television. Instead, TLC just kept rolling because drama sells, right? But what about Suki, who's standing up for her in this scenario? She kept to the script. She remained on track. She didn't incite insult or stray. And still, she was bulldozed by a man who didn't appreciate the mirror being held to his behavior. And TLC, the very show that employed her, let it happen. This isn't just awkward television, it's bad precedent. Because if Kody can yell at the host and get away with it, if he can create a set that is unsafe and still be rewarded with airtime, what message does that send that bad behavior pays off? That bullying works. That's not just a bad look for Kody. That's a failure of the whole system around him. Here's what's really disturbing about what we just saw in that tell. It's not new. It's not a one-time meltdown. It's a pattern. A clear, consistent pattern that Kody Brown has repeated time and time again, especially with women who confront him or won't play along with the image he'd like to portray. And if history is any guide, Sukana Krishnan might have just become the latest addition to a long list of women bullied out for doing nothing more than speaking the truth. Recall Tamron Hall, Natalie Morales, both veteran, respected journalists. Both sat across from Kody last season and did what they were hired to do. Ask questions, think about the season's proceedings, and hold everyone on that platform to some rudimentary level of accountability. And what did they do? They vanished, replaced quietly, nudged out without cause. You can attempt to fake it was creative direction or a natural hosting rotation, but let's not disparage our intelligence. The situation is too obvious. These women were let go after questioning tough questions Kody didn't want to answer. And now we're here with Suki seeing her walk the same tightrope questioning questions straight from TLC's own Bible and still getting yelled at. And here's the scary part. She'll likely be gone next year, not because she crossed a line, not because she sucked at her job, but because she did it too well, because she did not sit quietly while Kody rewrote history, because she did not nod along while he attempted to make himself the victim. This is how control works. This is how someone like Kody maintains power, not just in his family, but on national television. He uses intimidation as a tool, and TLC allows him, because every outburst, every angry rant, every insult, those are clicks, views, shares. It's entertainment. As long as the drama continues rolling, the show remains on the air. But it's not only Kody's wives who bear the emotional load, it's the hosts as well. These women arrive, remain calm, and attempt to impose some order onto a story that's been a shambles for years. They're the ones who bear witness to grief, betrayal, and heartbreak, while being professionally required to remain neutral. And what do they receive in return? Rage, disrespect, and then eventually silence. Consider that. Consider the emotional labor that Christine performed in order to finally walk away. The courage it has required for Janelle to cease making excuses. The manner in which Meri quietly suffered year after year. And now Suki is in that same place, responsible for the emotional fallout of Kody's dysfunction, because he doesn't know how to accept responsibility without ripping someone else down as well. It's the same pattern each time. A woman speaks. Kody bristles. She's labeled difficult, confrontational, or disrespectful, and then she's gone. It's not merely a family that's falling apart. It's a reality show constructed on the erasure of women who take a stand, who refuse to continue playing the game. When I withdraw and reflect on what we've been witnessing this season specifically, that tell all, I find myself feeling this knot in my chest. What does it reveal about TLC that they present something so raw, so emotionally charged, and quite plainly so toxic as entertainment? At what point does documenting dysfunction become a bad thing to take advantage of it? And how many women need to have to be shouted down or pushed aside before someone who has power speaks up? This isn't merely tabloid rumor. This isn't merely melodrama. It's a tale about control, about a man who's been given permission to control every narrative within his family and on national television for more than a decade, and a network that continues to cover for him because he's good television. But what is the price we've seen? Kody distort facts, blow up in anger, rewrite history, and treat women wives, hosts, professionals with utter disrespect. And with cameras rolling, it's part of the brand now, isn't it? Kody loses it. Kody walks off set. Kody makes a comment outrageous. It's sold to us like it's just part of the show, just part of who he is. But if you or I behaved like that in any workplace, we'd be written up fired or worse. I know a lot of you have been watching this series for years. Perhaps you saw fragments of your own story in Christine's strength. Perhaps you felt Meri's loneliness or Janelle's breaking point. And now, perhaps you're watching Suki wondering when she's going to say, "I'm done." I want to know what you think. Do you think she'll come back next season, or is this it for her? Let me know in the comments. Really, I want to hear from you. And if you've read this far, thank you. It means you have a passion for truth and accountability, not just headlines. Please don't forget to like this video. Drop a comment and subscribe too, and I'll be right here with you breaking it all down every step of the way.